Liz, values can differ enormously between organisation and across sectors. You've worked in government, professional practice, the big four, accounting firms and a law firm. A large bank and now in government business enterprise, you have had two quite different unpaid not-for-profit board roles, which seem to keep you very busy, which we were talking about this morning. How have the values of the organisations that you've worked for shaped your career choices?
Interesting question, and as I've been reflecting on that the last few days, it's made me think about, it's a long career, 32 years, having started as a graduate in the tax office and spending sort of 10 years in the ATO back in the 80s, 90s. And then progressing through the different organisations. And I might say, for those who haven't picked it up from my bio, is I don't do tax these days. So I'm actually in a governance role in Australia Post. So I've changed sort of my technical speciality along the way. But that's been, in answering the question, I immediately, being an analytical fact person, sort of think, what do they mean, values? How am I going to answer this question? What am I going to say to a group of women? Do the values between organisations sort of change that dramatically? So Google helps me, you know, what is values, principles, or, you know, standards of behaviour, one's judgment of what's important in life. I grabbed on to what's important in life. So for me, I'm absolutely clear that throughout my career, I've always been driven by learning, and it really has shaped sort of what I do every day and in the studies that I've undertaken. And I've spent a large part of my career studying as well. What it means is I need an organisation, I need to work in an organisation or even in a not-for-profit, as I do now, two very active not-for-profits, no money, and I have to do a lot of hands-on work, not only govern, is I have to have an organisation that lets people learn and lets them learn in their own way, so it facilitates their learning. And I came across the expression learning organisation back in the 90s when I was working in the tax office, when that was at one stage sort of one of their mantras, like we need to be a learning organisation. And I really gelled with that, because whatever job I do, whether it's tax, whether it's being a lawyer in commercial litigation, whether it's actually doing governance, I need to feel that every day when I walk in that I'm learning and I'm being allowed to learn and develop through that. And that's not easy, and that's where I've noticed there has been a difference. At some stage, so ATO I've mentioned, sort of learning organisation. I was a technician, meaning, you know, boxed into someone who's got a tax technical sort of hat. But I found in my 10 years I had lots of opportunities to work from being in policy, complex advisings, CPD, going out on some secondments, something quite novel. So I was learning the whole time. I was given those opportunities and it felt right. But it was actually learning and that desire to want to learn more that took me, and curiosity, that took me into what was then Coopers and Lybrand. And again, I put myself in quite difficult positions. I never seemed to do anything the standard way. So I go into a big four firm, having not had the training that those firms are fantastic at the training they put their graduates through, straight into a senior manager role, not having worked in that environment. Again, learning. So it was massive learning. It gave me that opportunity. But then when it starts not to feel right, for me, it is about the feeling. It's like you're learning, but there was something more. It's about how I learn. And I find those environments quite structured. And obviously you have to, what does the client want? You do your best to actually help the client. But I needed something more. I think I need more flexibility. But again, it's becoming aware of that. Mm-hmm. So we fast forward, I end up in a big bank. I'd always had a passion to want to work in a bank. And again, it was through the learning that drove me into different positions within the bank. And I have to say, unlike you, Lucinda, I've never gone into any role thinking, I just want to be the boss, or I want to get to the next level. I just happen to have ended up in those roles. And I think it's through that drive for learning. Once I get to a plateau, I think I need more. So in a corporate environment, you sort of naturally get to the next level. I have to say, it doesn't just happen, as we all know here. I have had an absolutely fabulous, I can say, career opportunities through usually my boss or someone, my boss's boss, who've actually been able to mentor and identify the opportunities, because it's not usually me that puts up my hand for the next role. I don't do that. It's usually someone tapping me on the shoulder and saying, Liz, I want you in this role. So that's some of the sharing. Now, I went to Cause, another law firm. Again, I went a square peg in a round hole. I went from being a tax professional, I left NAB, I wanted to rebrand, I want to actually do commercial litigation. I did my law degree at Melbourne Uni when they introduced the JD, one of the first students to do that. I did that as head of tax at NAB, so I was very busy. Again, the learning, I think, gave me the diversity from my day job to get you through what was a very, very heavy work schedule. And then, so square peg, round hole, Cause, I wanted to rebrand, use sort of the non-tax, more law focused. But I went in as quite a senior person, just below partner, and yet I'd never had worked in, the law firm before, understood the culture. So again, how did I end up doing that? Because it's really tough. But again, that learning kept coming back. Australia Post, governance,
Yes.
something different, again, learning, and it's keeping me very busy.
Thank
and
you.
fulfilled.
I'm constantly advocating for women to be constantly supporting up and coming talent. To the panel, can you share, I'll start with Liz and Kirsten, who's helped you in your career?
I think people who I've worked with. I mentioned earlier that I, unlike perhaps some of the other panel members, haven't set an exact target. I still don't know what I want to do next, but that's just me and I'm comfortable with that. But I look for opportunities that meet where I think the work might be right. So I've had to have people tap me on the shoulder, but I have to say there's probably, very early on, there was a woman who unfortunately passed away in her 30s. I'm talking 25 years ago when I did work in the ATO. She was at the time maybe 15 years older than me. She grabbed me, she says, come with me. She took me to I think it was a tax institute meeting. It'll be good for you to do this. So before I know it, I spent 10 years on the sort of Victorian State Council for the tax institute, things like that. Another boss when I was at Coopers and Library, and he said, come with me and we'll get involved. So it's those people. My current boss is my biggest advocate. Right. I didn't know him when I went to work at Australia Post, knew many other people, and now he taught me to be a company secretary, governance, and I love it. So it's those sorts of people. I'm single and I don't have children. It's like I haven't got, and I don't come from a professional background. So whilst I've got all the love and support from friends, I've had to look to people I trust in the work environment to look out for me and people I feel comfortable, which is quite different, I think.
Yeah, thank you. You're trying to grab that time to go to the gym, to garden, to do the things that you love. What are you doing to try and make sure that happens?
Trying to be really clear about what it is that I want to get out of each of those roles, and like how much the balance between them, and I think learning to be a bit more in the moment. Actually, quite different from probably what you've said. I don't have to be probably as structured. My life is just me, but it's actually, that's the danger. You can so easily just get trapped into doing everything for everybody else and having no other sort of valuable experiences. So it's about, yoga's great for me, to get that mindset. It's like, what I have to do today is this, and I'm going to do it well, and that's my focus. And then I'm going to do that tomorrow, and then leaving the other things. One day at the weekend, it might be, I'm going to garden, I'm not going to look at emails, I'm not going to do any not-for-profit work, even though I know there's a huge task list, and being really clear about that.
Okay, thank you.